So there's been mixed reaction to the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill. The bill is aimed at addressing challenges like dropouts and strengthening governance, among other issues. AfriForum says the new bill, in its current format, will affect the education system negatively if passed by Parliament. Basic Education spokesperson Mhlanga joins us now to expand on this. Thank you very much, sir, for your time this afternoon. So the bill in and of itself has some 56 points to it. And so what is the department's understanding of what the problem from other sectors of society is specifically?
Good evening, good afternoon to Joseph. Well, it seems some people have problems with some of the clauses that the department has put forward as proposals to the changes that the sector seeks to make. We believe that the amendment will benefit the majority of South Africans. We have never seen a bill or we have never seen changes that accommodated the interests of everyone 100%. There are always people who have challenges with some of the things that we're making. So we are observing that some people want to see things remaining the same. And here we're talking about the admission policy, which is one of the key areas that the amendment seeks to address in terms of opening up our schools to ensure that all other learners are able to access those schools. We also talk about the language policy as well, which is an area of school governing bodies to determine. But we feel that there has to be a greater role for the department to play in determining what takes place in school. So basically this bill is about strengthening governance, as you indicated in your intro, but also making sure that we assist society to transform in terms of understanding the plight of our learners who are residing in different places but are not able to access certain schools because of the existing provisions that are there that we feel need to change at this point. But there's also the other matter where people have been hugely mobilized. It's around the issue of home education, where it seems there is a twisted view that seeks to communicate that the department wants to take away the right of parents to teach their children a curriculum of their choice. But that is not what the changes seek to do. Instead, we say we need to be able to monitor what you are teaching your child at home, because our interest as the custodian of education in this country, we need to protect every child's right to education and make sure that if you are teaching your child at home in terms of the home education policy, we need to ascertain that indeed that child is accessing education, one, and two, that they're accessing good quality education. So the monitoring part, we feel that it's important, but it is being opposed by some people who are twisting the provisions for some reason or the other.
What is the vision of the department when it comes to the admission policy?
Well, we need to make sure that admissions are fair and that they're equitable and that they take into account the demographics of each society or each locality, because we now live in a situation where some learners have to travel distances to access schools where they can be enrolled, even though there are other schools near them which are half empty. But because of the policies that have been put in place by the school governing bodies of those schools there, those learners of a particular racial group are not able to access those schools. And when you approach those people running the schools and ask why, they tell you that because of the language policy of that school, it doesn't accommodate certain people. So you don't choose where you're born as a child, and you don't choose which language your parents are going to be teaching you. So if, like me, your mother tongue is Xitsonga and you cannot speak Afrikaans, but 2 blocks from where you live, in Pretoria, for example, there's a school where the language, the medium of instruction is Afrikaans. They tell you that you can't access that school because you are not conversant in the language, you're not competent. in that language. And that creates problems because you have a situation as you have it right now in Gauteng where there are areas of huge overcrowding and then there are areas of schools that are running at half the capacity, whereas these could be fully utilized if we were to amend the admission and the language policies to ensure that they accommodate every learner that lives in that particular area.
The amendment of the language policy, what is the vision?
Is to make sure that we integrate the society. It's about social cohesion. It's about making sure that all the resources that we have are used to build the country. You know, that's the one thing that we forget. The entire objective of education, especially in our context as South Africa, is to unite and build the country. We cannot afford a situation where some learners are kept away from the other just because of a language. We cannot do that. That's why we feel that the majority of South Africans are going to benefit from the amendments that the BELA bill contains. And we are glad that the Parliament is taking this matter seriously, working with speed. Even this evening, we are talking about it. This morning, we're talking about it because we want to move forward and make sure that we process all the comments and that we process the inputs that we received through the DBE process and through the Parliament process to make sure that everyone is taken on board as we seek to transform this society, which is changing very fast. But we find that there are pieces of legislation that need to be attended to because they are dragging us back, if not delaying the transformation that we want to see in our society.
What have been some of the comments that have stood out for you that are coming in?
Well, the most shocking one is the one that is propagated by the ACDP, who have termed the BELA bill the abortion bill. For some reason, we are baffled by this because there is nothing regarding that in the BELA bill talking about anything of the sort. We are talking here about governance. There's no mention of curriculum in this bill. This bill is really about administration of the sector and strengthening those areas that we feel need to be attended to. So we have seen campaigns from province to province and some videos being posted on social media as well as some flyers being distributed digitally as well, where the bill was basically being trashed. But those people doing that do not tell you that the bill actually has 56 clauses, but they are labeling the entire bill as an abortion bill, even though the content of what they say in their own flyers is not contained in the actual text of the proposals that have been put out for public comment. So you can see that there are people who are coming with their own agenda to twist the intentions of the department, but also to mislead people in the process so that people are mobilized to rejecting the bill, even though we feel that the bill is transformative, the bill is progressive, the bill is constructive, and the bill is what we need, not just for the basic education sector, but for society as a whole, because we feel as education we have a role to assist the country in its transformation agenda.
The bill also has financial implications for the state, which reads, in terms of the provision of grade R, it is estimated that an additional amount of 5.26 billion rand will be required. The amount is composed of both the funding needed for equalization of conditions of services and the funding of appointment of additional educators to address the estimated increased learner enrollment. The calculations are based on the current provisions of grade R in public schools. In terms of additional infrastructure, a total of 7,888 schools still need to be provided with grade R classrooms, and an amount of 12 billion rand is required to address the shortfall. The shortfall will continue to be funded from the Education Infrastructure Grant, the Equitable Share and other funding mechanism, and so it goes. When we take a look at the cost-benefit analysis, what went into it?
Well, there's no price in terms of the benefit to the country. Remember, For a very long time, South Africans have been saying, please fix the basic education system. And for you to fix it properly, you need to start from the bottom. We've been doing research in that regard for a long time. In fact, a year ago, on the 1st of April 2022, the Department of Basic Education received the ECD function from the Department of Social Development as part of aligning education with the best systems in the world, bringing ECD, the foundation level of learning, starting with ECD to basic education. So what you're referring to there is that provision in the amendments which talks about making grade R compulsory in the system. Currently, it is not. So one of the things that we seek to do is to formalize grade R in the basic education system so that we're able to address the things that you mentioned. One is the conditions of employment for educators, because you need to determine the qualifications for those people. But two, to develop common texts for those learners in that level so that you are able to know what each learner in grade R is learning across the country. How much that will cost? Well, we believe that there will be money for us to fix education, particularly when it comes to curriculum, particularly when it comes to doing exactly that which South Africans have been calling for, fixing and improving the basic education system. If you listen to any commentator now, they will tell you that the focus on matric is very late. We need to be fixing it from the bottom. So we are doing exactly that. There's nothing wrong with the expenditure that accompanies that. The country will find the money, because education is what is common right across society. It doesn't matter where you go. We all agree that our education needs to be very strong. So the international reading studies, the international math studies, and all other research studies that we participate in help us to do exactly this. Understand what makes the best education systems in the world and take best practice so that you're able to strengthen your own system. We're doing exactly that.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time this afternoon. Mhlanga speaks for the Basic Education Department.